Hello LinkedIn colleagues, this is John Herrera, President of MuniTemps, Municipal Staffing Solutions, and today's City Speak blog is specifically for accounting clerks. Whether you work in municipal government or any other organization, excuse my voice, I have a cold, but this blog is about what accounting clerks should know about accounting. So I'm going to use my whiteboard today because I like using whiteboards. But before I start on this, I wanted to just mention a couple things for the finance directors, controllers, accounting managers, and so forth. I highly suggest that if you have not already provided training on whatever accounting software you have, no matter what level of accounting software you have, provide training. Schedule training with a software vendor to come in and train your accounting clerks, accountants, and basically anybody that needs to be using your accounting systems. I did a blog not long ago about how accounting systems would have a much higher utilization, productivity would be higher if there were accounting training in the software. Okay, so let's get right into this, okay? This board here has a lot of information on it, but I'm gonna start first of all with what the heart of the accounting system is. You all know what GL is? The general ledger. That's the heart of the accounting system. And accounting clerks work in the receptionist, taking in information, entering information into a quadrant system or a cash receiving system. Accounting clerks work in business license, utility billing. They work in parks and recreation, maybe in police department or other departments, and they post cash receipts. And usually if the accounting system is fully integrated, those transactions automatically flow into the general ledger. Because the goal of a fully integrated accounting system is to avoid having to post transactions twice or three times. We won't only want to enter information data once, and then it ends up in the general ledger, which ultimately at the end of the month, quarter, biannual, or annual basis results in financial reports, right? So the accounting clerks, they enter information into the accounts receivable system, in cash receipts, utility billing, business license, fixed assets, job costing, accounts payable, and even in budget. Those are actually, when we enter those are really not financial transactions, it's more like an overlay so that you can always see the budget versus actual. I actually forgot to put purchase orders in there as well because that's kind of a module, right? Purchasing creates encumbrances. It encumbers the budget, which shows up in the financial reports from the general ledger. But some of the things that I want to highlight is the fact that as an accounts payable, accounts receivable, or any other accounting clerk function that you as an accounting clerk work in, there are so many more things that are going on behind the scenes. I want to talk about first helping you to understand there are 5 account types. You need to understand that every single transaction that you enter, whether it's in payroll, accounts payable, any other receivable module in the utility billing, you normally only enter one side of the debit credit transaction. You're all aware that our accounting system that we use throughout the world, the accounting system we use is called a dual entry system. If you enter a debit, you also need to enter a credit because debits always have to equal in the accounting system. We print a trial balance later on in the process, but debits always have to equal credits. So you have to understand that every single transaction that you enter into your accounting system, you really only see one side. As an example, if you're in accounts payable or payroll, you're only posting the debit side. The system posts the credit, and then also when the check is cut or the ACH batch is cut, it reverses out. Like for example, in accounts payable, when you post an invoice, you only enter the debit. What account, what expenditure account? Sometimes it's a liability account or an asset account, whatever. The point is that you, as an accounts payable clerk, an accounting clerk working in accounts payable, you typically only enter one side of it. The credit, if you're working accounts payable credits, the debit's going to be the expense account. Usually the credit is going to be to a liability account called accounts payable. When you cut the check, the system automatically debits the liability account, accounts payable, to zero out accounts payable, and it credits cash. But the same happens in all the other modules where accounting clerks typically work. But there's so much more that goes on. So I think as an accounting clerk, you need to understand a certain basic level of accounting, or as much as you want to learn. But here's some things that I thought you should learn about. And I'll go through them quickly. You'll have to call me or email me, John, John, at munitemps.com, and I can go into more in-depth training on all of these things. But this is just an overview. It's quick, it's fairly fast. Thanks for still sticking with me thus far. But you need to know the 5 account types. I can ask, frankly, sometimes even accountants don't know, what are the 5 account types into which every single accounting transaction that flows into this general ledger must be classified. It's only 5. It's really easy to remember that. There's only 5 account types. Now there's all kinds of accounts, but 5 account types. If you can at least learn this. Every account is either an asset, liability, an equity, fund balance, right? Revenue or expense or expenditure if you're in government. Every single transaction that you enter in your accounting system as an accounting clerk is either going to be an asset, liability, equity / fund balance, revenue or expense or expenditure account, right? That's it. If you can identify that much, that's half the battle of knowing how to do accounting. And then you need to remember debits and credits. What are they? They're really just a way to know which account increases and which account decreases with a debit or credit. It's different, right? Asset accounts, as it shows there, are increased with a debit. Liability accounts increase with a credit. Equity or fund balance increase with a credit. Revenues increase with a credit. And then expenses or expenditures are increased with a debit. How are they decreased? Well, with the opposite, right? Assets are decreased with a credit. Liabilities are decreased with a debit. Equity and fund balance are decreased with a debit. Revenues are decreased with a debit. And expenses or expenditures are decreased with a credit. So remember that. That's a really important thing to remember. If you can just, I think you're going to have a lot of cool things to talk about at cocktail parties if you can talk about the 5 account types. The other thing is financial reports. Everything you do is so eventually there can be financial reports. The balance sheet, the trial balance, expense versus budget, revenue versus budget, detailed history reports. That's pretty straightforward, right? Your accounting system, for the most part, should be able to provide that, right? Another thing is to understand that there are 5 principles of accounting that you need to memorize. Understand that. As an accounting clerk, you typically don't think about them, but they're important. Number 1 is the revenue recognition. 2 is cost principle. 3 is the matching principle. Full disclosure, and then objectivity. Being objective when you post transactions and information. The financial reports that you get out of the accounting system, 90% of the transactions that go in there come from the work that you as an accounting clerk do. But the information must be relevant, reliable, understandable, comparable, consistent, neutral, timely, verifiable, conservative, and substance over form must be the economic consideration, right? The other thing I want to talk about, again, big picture overview. I'll get in more in depth in future blog so you can ask me more questions, and I'd be happy to provide training to any of you, but I'll be doing videos on this anyways. So remember, the accounting cycle. Understand the accounting cycle, learn about it. Even though as an accounting clerk you may not be aware of it now, find out about it. GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, right? Going concern of your organization, very important. Posting transaction materiality, reconciliation, be aware of fraud, ethics has to be top priority, right? And understanding GAAP, internal controls, fraud, theft, timely postings, and utilize your system. So with that, thanks for listening to my overview. You have a great day. Accounting clerks, you guys rock. Bye.